Guys, this is the craziest game that I've ever played. I don't even know how to show you this. I mean, this is insane. I actually showed Adiban the game and he said that he said that it was horrible and brilliant. I analyzed the game with my opponent because it was really interesting, and then Adiban joined as well, so we were like all three analyzing. I am very, very, very excited. I'm gonna go ahead and show you this. So basically I was playing against this guy called Armin Sarkisian from Belgium. He was 1800, like 1862 was his FIDE rating, but he was like 1600 like just a few months ago, and he's been going up like a lot of rating lately, and he was doing like a really good tournament here. Like he beat a 2200, he drew a couple 2100s, so I was kind of afraid. I thought that this was definitely like an underrated player. Also, he didn't have any games basically online, so I was kind of nervous. He was watching my stream yesterday, guys. And when I said that I'm gonna play the London, I spoke to him after. He prepared the London for 3 hours. He prepared the opening that he played against me for like 3 hours, and the London for 3 hours. He had like 6 hours of prep. This guy prepped so much for this game. It was insane. So anyways, guys, I played my 100% standard opening 1d4. He went knight f6. I went c4, and then c6. I went knight f3, so he went d5 basically. So he was like blitzing out all of these moves. Like I had never seen something like that. I was playing a move and he was like bum. Like he was like blitzing like in a way that I've never seen before. I was like, what's going on? But anyways, he took on c4, so this is his Slav. I went a4 just to stop b5. And then he went bishop f5. And here I actually like play a really... Okay, you know, it's not a bad move. But you guys know that I typically go knight h4, okay? I typically go knight h4. Why? Well, because honestly, this is the only thing I've studied against the Slav, which is so bad. I mean, the standard moves is to go like e3 and then take, but I literally only studied knight h4, which is like so bad. I literally need to stop playing e3 because knight h4 is not even that good. Like black can just go bishop c8 and then, you know, I go back and then this is a draw. Like this is a really easy way to make a quick draw. And I mean, to be honest, because like I was really tired today, like I didn't mind like getting a draw against him, but I still, obviously I was playing with the white pieces. I wanted to fight. But so yeah, so I don't really know like why I play this. So I definitely need to study a new opening. He went bishop g4 because he said that he's seen that I always play f3, which is a mistake. And honestly, yeah, f3 is a mistake. Yeah, you're supposed to go h3. I don't know why I always go f3 on stream, and why in my mind I've always thought that f3 is the move. But so he was like, I've seen all your games on chess.com and you always play f3 and it's a bad move. And I was like, it probably is. I'm supposed to go h3. So I went f3, and typically like they go like bishop h5, but he went bishop d7, which is actually like not being played that much, but it's actually a really good move, and it's like the engine is saying it's the best move, and this is really interesting. And in this position, like I know that I want to go e4, but I was kind of afraid of e4, e5, the idea being that if takes, that there's knight takes e4, and I don't know why I was afraid of it, because now like when I analyze later, I realized that I have knight takes e4, and after they take like my knight on h4, I can just go g3 and this is fine. So I don't know why I was afraid of it, but during the game I was afraid of it. Like for some reason I was just sure that e5 worked in so many positions, and that, you know, after e5 there would be like all these kinds of threats because my knight is hanging. So I went g3 to defend my knight instead of g4, which is like such a passive move. He went in this position e6, which is normal just to like get his bishop out. And then I just went e4. And this is like, I mean, this is like not horrible for me. It's like minus 0.30, like according to the engine. So it's like not horrible, but black has definitely like got a bit of an advantage right from the opening. So it's definitely not great. And then he went b5, and all of this was prep. And this is nice. Now he's, you know, defending this pawn. And here I did probably the worst move in history. Like, I mean, at least I thought for 40 minutes. Because, like, that was not part of the prep. Guys, I went d5. Why did I go d5? Because a part of me thought that this was good. Such a horrible move, guys. This is like the worst opening I've ever had with white. I don't know, I thought that I was like breaking the pawn structure, and for some reason I thought that after like c takes d5 and a takes b5, I thought that like it wouldn't be so easy for black to defend this pawn. Like I just didn't realize that black just had so much play. Like I thought that I'd be getting this pawn back, and then there'd be some weaknesses in the center, etc. Obviously there were worse moves, but it's just not a move that I should play. I thought for 40 minutes here, and he ended up going c takes d5. In this position, I mean, my plan had been to like take this pawn, And for some reason, I just really thought that, like, this was fine. But bishop b4 is a really good move. And I actually seen bishop b4. But I had, like, calculated all sorts of, like, crazy things. Like, I was calculating moves like e5. And I actually went e5 over here. This move, bishop b4, the idea is just to pin the knight so that this pawn is hanging. And right now, I'm a pawn down. I actually went e5 in this position. And then knight g8 is, like, the only good move. Like, knight h5 would be bad due to I believe f4, and then this is hanging, and I think this is pretty great. I mean, the knight doesn't really have any good squares, and if g6, I think I might even have f5 immediately. So this move doesn't really work, so you have to go knight g8, and this is like the idea. This was the idea of d5. Like, I wanted to go e5. Like, I had seen it when I went d5. I was like, oh, I'm taking here. I'm going e5. The knight is coming back. I was like calculating like queen d4, and then I was thinking if bishop takes b5. I cannot take back, of course, because of the pin. I was like calculating queen g4, but then I realized that there's d4, and I was like seeing all kinds of crazy things like queen takes g7, and then I realized that this doesn't work because there's takes, and after takes, bishop c3 check, king f2, there's queen d4 check, and then this pawn is hanging. So I was like calculating all of these sorts of things, which like is like so unnecessary, but I was looking at this position in the game. So, and then this didn't work because, like, I'm threatening the rook and, like, the knight, but, like, my pawn is hanging too. So this is a little bit way too dank, but also, like, if my opponent doesn't want to enter all this, instead of going for this crazy d4, they can also just go king f8 and just be happy, you know? They can also do that. Sometimes good moves born in crazy calculations. Tuti, I was hoping that something like that was gonna be that. Yeah, I was hoping that. So anyway, so I just realized that he also like just has king f8 and then like there's nothing. The engine says that the best move here is knight f5. Oh, actually this is nice. What? I missed this move. Wait, what? Oh, wait, what? Wait, I didn't see this when I analyzed before. Oh, this is actually so nice. Wait, the rook is trapped. Oh, wow. Okay, I completely missed this idea of knight f5. That's so pretty. But apparently there's just bishop takes b5, yeah. And then I have knight takes g7 though. This is... What happens here, guys? Wait, sorry. I just need to see this. King f8, knight h5. This is pretty crazy. Okay, I completely missed this idea. There was apparently this idea too, which was probably the best move. But I went for another move here. I went for queen a4 because I wanted to defend my pawn. And I was like hoping that he was going to take here on c3 because then I would be able to like activate my dark squared bishop. And I thought that if he took on c3, I was fine, which I am. But he went for this really good move, a5, and I actually just missed a5 for some reason. And in this position, I did another... Guys, I mean, I'm telling you, this is like the worst game I've ever played. Can you guys imagine what move I did? I went bishop h3. Like, just... on -6 on move 14. I had a plan, okay? My plan was that I was hoping that at some point I would be able to sack on d5. And then that, like, I'd be able to take on d7. Okay, I was, like, hoping that I would have, like... Okay, guys, I'm telling you, this is so horrible. Like, my title is not lying. Like, I literally put the bishop in the worst square. Like, when Adivan saw me putting the bishop over here, he just started laughing. Because my bishop and my knight are, like, look at these 4 pieces that are just, like, stuck in the h-file. Like, my thought process was this. I didn't like the bishop on g2 because the knight couldn't go there. And I didn't like bishop e2 either because I thought it was pointless over there. So I felt like this bishop had more of a future over here than what it had on e2. So, and I wanted to castle, so that's why I did it. Anyways, he went knight a6. And the idea of knight a6 is just that he wants to go knight c5. And I cannot take over here because my queen is hanging. So I went here bishop e3. I thought if knight c5, I mean, I'll probably have to go queen c2, knight d3, king f1, and pray. But he didn't do it. He went knight c7. Which, like, isn't, like, that bad. But, like, I think knight c5 would have been, like, the better option. And then I would have had to go queen c2. Because I can't take, because if I take, my dark squares just become so weak. So he went knight c7 and I castled. And he went queen b8. And to be honest, like, I was kind of happy because I sort of felt like, you know, he was, like, not castling. Like, I was just afraid that he was, like, going to bring his knight out, castle, take this pawn, and just be straight up 2 pawns up. Like, I was just afraid of that. But he was, like, doing, like, maneuvers. And I was pretty happy about that because he gave me, like, a little bit more time. But obviously, this is still really good for black. First, I went rook a d1. If knight takes b5, now I have knight takes, or no, I have rook takes d5 now, yeah. which is pretty crazy because if knight takes c3, I have queen check, and it's winning. And if there's bishop takes, and then there's knight takes b5, yeah. So I did have like some ideas of maybe taking on d5 if knight takes b5, but obviously he didn't do it. Like he just played knight e7 really quickly, which is just a good move because obviously it's just like developing. He's like defending on d5, so there's never really gonna be anything on d5. Here I went f4 because I thought that the single only idea I have in this position, because of the fact that I'm gonna lose this b5 pawn, is that I need to go f4, f5. Instead of castles, my opponent went for g6, and I went f5 here because I thought, okay, probably it's really bad, and it is. I'm gonna be 3 pawns down out of the opening, and the idea was just to get some dark squares. I was like, okay, he hasn't castled yet, so I might as well like try to complicate his castling to at least like try to get some sort of counterplay. So he went g takes f5, and I went bishop g5 over here. The idea was just to go bishop f6 and maybe, you know, at some point maybe have some sort of attack. Like it would make his castling more complicated because I have queen c2, queen d2, queen h6. So I went bishop g5 here to go bishop f6. So in this position, they went for knight takes b5, which makes sense. I mean, now I'm 3 pawns down. I went queen c2 because I'm defending this knight, and if takes and takes, I mean, at least I'm stopping d4. Here they went bishop c5 check. I guess I wanted to put my king on h1, so I went king h1. I need to go here just so that, you know, if any check, I can like put a piece in front. And here I think when we're analyzing, we're saying that maybe bishop c6 for black would have been like better immediately, because my opponent went for this move d4, and I think that like obviously like this is still good for black, but I think that like this is giving me maybe a little bit more chances because this pawn in c4 is going to be a little bit weak. So I went d4 just to open up this diagonal, kick my knight away. And after d4, I went knight a4 because I wanted to kick the bishop away. He went bishop c6 check. So I had to go bishop g2, and then he exchanged, and I was actually pretty happy about that because I thought that this bishop on h3 was like not really doing anything. Like it makes sense that they wanted to exchange just because they wanted to, you know, take away pieces, but I mean weaken my king a bit. But I thought that my bishop on h3 wasn't really doing a lot, so like in the game I was a little bit happy. And now my opponent went for queen takes e5. I have sacrificed 4 pawns, so I took on c4. And I mean I do have like a little bit of counterplay in the sense that like, you know, he can't castle, but that's pretty much the only counterplay I have. And in this position, after queen takes c4, I am threatening both the knight and this bishop. So I'm threatening 2 pieces at the same time. So he needs to move the bishop to defend the knight with the queen. He went bishop a7, which is a really good move. Like my opponent has played really well. And in this position, I went for a little bit of a crazy move. I went bishop f6. So he's forced to take the bishop with the queen because I'm threatening both pieces. So he took the bishop, and I went queen takes b5 with check. And the idea of this was that king over here, I mean, it would just be really bad because I have queen b7, and you know, either the rook or the bishop is gonna fall. Like you can see this, that one of these pieces are gonna fall. There's no way of defending. Needs to go king f8, and my idea here was to go queen b7 with the same idea, threatening both the rook and the bishop. So the only move in this position is to go king g7 and defend the rook with the other rook. And so what I did here was, and this was the whole idea with bishop f6, was to go knight f4. I was threatening knight h5 check right now, like the fork. And if it goes h5, then I can just go knight takes h5. And if rook takes h5, I can just take the rook. So that was the idea. So that was the idea basically of bishop f6. I thought that this, because he would have to go king h6, and I thought that this was looking kind of funny in a way, you know. So I thought that this was probably like the best I had in terms of swindling. And in this position, guys, I sacked another pawn. I went g4. The idea of g4 is just to go g5 check. That is the idea. Because after g5 check, it's actually pretty interesting. Queen takes, rook d3. It's actually pretty interesting. So my opponent did a move, which is e5, which is a great move. You know, it's like the second best move by the engine. Rook hb8, like, is the best move, kicking away the queen, and then maybe I go queen d7 or something. But, you know, he went e5, which is, you know, a great move. So I didn't care, so I went g5 check. Because, like, what am I going to do with this pawn? Like, right now he's threatening my knight. He's also threatening to go queen c6 check. And, like, and like exchange my queens. And if we exchange queens, I mean, I'm 4 pawns down. It's just dead loss. Like, I can just resign on the spot. So it's really important to, you know, it's really important to not allow any queen exchange. So I had to go g5 because the only move is queen takes g5. If king takes g5, it's checkmate. After queen g2 check, king h6, queen h3. Well, it's not checkmate, but like if king here, it's queen, there's queen h5 checkmate, and after this I just have knight h5 check, and I'm winning the queen. So king takes g5 is not possible. So by going g5, I'm forcing the queen from getting out of, like, you know, this check. Now I'm forcing the queen to like go here. I went rook d3. I'm threatening to go rook h3. So, you know, honestly, like, this position obviously is still like lost for me, but it's not so easy to play with black. Like, honestly, like the only way that black can be winning, like -2, is by taking and sacrificing the queen. King g7, rook g1. I'm pinning the queen. That's the idea of rook d3, to go check and then to be pinning the queen. So this is like the best thing that that black has right now, and to go knight g6. And this is like the only way that black is winning, actually. So rook d3, and yeah, so I'm threatening right now to go check and sack, and pin the queen, and that's the best thing actually that black can do here. But my opponent like didn't want to sack the queen, which like makes total sense. He said that he thought that, you know, he was saving it by knight g6. But after knight g6, I went rook h3, check. They went knight h4, and for some reason I missed knight g2. Oh wow, knight g2 is just winning here. Yeah, I missed this move, actually. I went queen c6 check here. And then I thought we were going to draw because I saw f6. And I went rook g1, and I thought this is just a draw after queen takes f4. Because actually after like queen takes f6, king h7, king h5, I don't have enough pieces to checkmate. So this is just a draw. But actually my opponent went for rook a c8 because he wanted to kick away my queen. But I think that, yeah, he just missed. And actually, I had missed it too, but I was lucky that I had this idea. I have rook takes g5. And after rook takes c6, I have rook g1. And there's no way of stopping rook takes h4 checkmate. Look at that, guys. Crazy. Crazy. There's no way of stopping it. So it's just winning. I was really happy that I found this.